I think it's time to go ahead and start. If everybody's ready, it's all ready. All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'll start out tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you everybody for being here tonight. I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you for your patience for being in this section. We've got a little things changing around here tonight because we're getting ready for a play this weekend. So we're in a little bit smaller area tonight, but welcome. Tonight we'll start out with a roll call.
Ron Alberico.
Here.
Greg Bickett.
Here.
Barb Boyce.
Here.
Barbara Lady. Here. Steve Morelli.
Here.
13 Construction.
Here.
Utility Management.
Here.
Carl Buck. Here.
All right, we're all here. Everybody should have in their packet minutes of last month's meeting. I do need a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I got a motion by Barb Delaney,
A second.
and a second by Barb Boyce. Any questions of the minutes?
Yeah, I have one question. On Terry Broadhurst's comments, at the end of that, it's on page 3.
Yes.
The last thing on there says 13 Construction responded when Mr. Broadhurst buys water from the water department. He'll answer his question. That wasn't the only thing that was in there. And he did tell the resident that was asking questions. Let me get the exact wording here. Sorry, I've got to go through a couple pages to find it. He made a derogatory comment towards the resident with profanity in it, and told him to stick it up his rear end, but not using that word. And I fully expected there'd be a letter of apology from 13 Construction to the resident and to the residents and the board regarding that. But that needs to be in the minutes that's what occurred.
Well, you want a correction to the minutes? Can we correct that to the minutes?
Yeah, the minutes are just a synopsis of what happened. It's not verbatim.
It isn't. Yeah, it isn't a word.
I have it right here on video if you want to listen to it.
You can play it out.
Question stands. Are you paying for that location for the V-Box? Don't expect the answers.
I don't know if you can hear it there, but you can hear it by listening to this video.
All right, well, what's the question? Do you want to add that to the minutes to be approved? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Can I say something?
Is that to be added to the minutes?
If you want it added, it can
Add
be
it to the
added.
minutes,
But
please. All right, that being taken care of, do you want to go ahead and pass the minutes with the corrections?
Yes.
Any other questions before we make a roll call? I don't think we need a roll call for that. All right, if there's no other questions, all in favor of passing the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Moving on to the bills of $46,135.25. I do need a motion to pay the bills.
Make that motion.
I got a motion by Barb Boyce,
Second.
a second by Barb Delaney. Any questions of the bills?
I got one question. We received an email with more invoices than our bills to be approved here.
You're talking about the Muir and Sons?
There's a second one from Muir and Sons, yes.
Right, we don't have that on the bill list to be approved this month because we did not receive the prevailing wages, the certified payroll on that one quite yet, so we pulled that off the bill list.
Okay.
That'll be paid next month.
Okay, just checking. I saw something there. I
All
didn't know
right.
if it was just a,
Any other questions on the bills?
no.
Hearing none, let's have a roll call, please.
Ron Alberico?
Yes.
Greg Wickes?
Yes.
Barb Boyce?
Yes.
Barb Delaney?
Yes.
Steve Morelli?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any citizens wishing to address the board here tonight? Please state your name for the minutes.
Terry Broadhurst, 2123 Arthur. So, I'll clear my head a little bit here because I was kind of thrown for a loop. I thought I'll get to that. I do have a couple questions based on business in the community. I know you don't have to answer them, but I pose a couple questions.
Really much we want comments, not questions.
So, we have our first new home start in the community. It just started about 3 weeks back. They dug the hole, they got the footings formed. I mean, it's the first one in some time, a new home going over on California, down on our south end. So we're happy to announce that. But one of the questions I posed to the board and to our water management, this is taking place on a house, on a property that was, a house was taken down. So there's water and sewage existing on the property. But yet he's building a new home. So my question is, being that he's building a new home, does he still pay a tap-on fee, like if somebody was tapping onto the main on the street? And if you guys don't know the answer to that, I'm thinking now's a good time to start working on it, because as I said, there's a new home going. They're talking to the guy, the sewage is there under the footing frame, water's still there from the existing home. So I don't exactly know the legality on that from the water board standpoint, based on the fact that one day I'm going to be building homes, and I know that there is water and waste existing on some of my property, or some of the property I represent. That was the business question, the common sense question I had tonight.
Thank you.
So I'm thinking right offhand, nobody probably has that exact answer. Maybe I can stop in a couple of days, Ron, and give me some background on
Well,
that.
Terry, if I may interrupt you,
Sure.
I think it's a good question, because me being new to this too, I guess, should we not be able to answer that question this evening with just a simple yes or no?
I don't know the answer.
Does Chris, would you know?
Chris?
I think Larry knows.
Go ahead.
There's an ordinance that, it's your ordinance, not mine.
Okay.
So I think just get that ordinance to Terry, and it says, I don't know what it says, but there is an ordinance on what you asked.
On existing pipe and water.
Yeah.
Well, and so, by bringing up this question, I'm hoping that because this, the renaissance is happening, folks. It's happening. It might be a little bit slow right now, but it's happening. Our first one started. The property next door has just been gutted, and they're going to be cutting grass on a wooded four lots in a row. It was all wooded. They cleared it in 3 days. There's people that are working every day beautifying our community, and so these are the infrastructural fixes that I started talking about many months back, about a year come May. I know that it's always been a rural community. I know that there's always been a township government, and it's kind of been almost hands-off in a sense. And that's based on my experience of the last 5 years being here, going on 6 come May. And so I'm hoping, again, going back to looking for solutions, I'm hoping with common sense, we can get together, we can figure this out. We have a lot of problems. None of them so great that we can't handle. They're taking place, these problems take place all over the place. And everywhere else, they seem to handle them with a grain of salt, no problems, right? And I'm thinking that we're here now. And a year ago when I started this crusade, there was a whole lot of denial, a whole lot of, I don't know, and it was just the way it's always been. And just because it's the way it's always been doesn't make it right. So I'm hoping that these days, moving forward, we can all, you gotta understand something. You know, my investment is there. And I'm on them, I'm on them roads every morning, every afternoon, every evening, at night. I'm vested there. So when you talk about how much work's going on and how many breaks we got, I'm watching the breaks from a distance. I mean, I know everything these guys are doing. I don't take notes. I don't think I need to. I got a pretty good memory, but there's solutions here, and I want to get to that point, okay? Now, with that being said, we have to back up one step. When I left this meeting last month, I spoke with people that are here. Everybody heard what was said. And I went home that night and I said to my wife, I said, Valerie, I think I need to go there first thing in the morning and mention to Chris that make sure these things get into the minutes because this is who is representing us. And here's what my wife said. My wife says, give her the benefit of the doubt. Have faith. She ain't got nothing against us. We don't have nothing against her. Well, the idea that you would not put that in, the idea that you think is not important that the person sitting on that table should speak to a resident or any other person at this podium. That way, and then you choose, you make the conscious choice to not put it in the minutes. How many other times have you made that conscious choice? And do we edit the minutes all the time? How many times do you get the minutes before they finalize? This is nonsense. This goes back to transparency, corruption, and the idea that they think it's okay to not do the minutes correctly. Understand one thing. She is the secretary of this board. That is a position almost where you have to take an oath, don't you? Yes or no? Anybody?
I don't think she takes an oath to be a secretary.
She doesn't take an oath to be a secretary, but is she obligated to print stuff and complete stuff properly and according to what was said and legally? At this point, I just don't understand why you would put yourself under the spotlight with this type of corruption, Chris. I've never done anything to you. I don't even really know you. And this is the type of stuff that made me start this crusade last May. This type of corruption. I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Please state your name and on the record, please, so you get the minutes right.
Linda here, Fairmount Community Partnership Group President. Good evening, Supervisor Alberico, trustee, contractors, and staff. Last month, the Fairmount community requested to have several items added to tonight's agenda. We are seeking to have an open dialogue with the supervisory board of trustees. The issues we have sought to resolve are the $528,000 lawsuit and the allocation of funds taken to date, the appointment of residents from Fairmount to the Water Utility Board, and the water bill payments at our neighborhood store. I believe we have established the next steps for the water system loan and the $7.50 assessment. We have moved forward with the referendum question for the November ballot. We understand that both of these matters will require further discussion between the Township and Will County Land Use and the Will County Clerk's Office. We are looking forward to expeditiously resolving the aforementioned matters, as we have dedicated 7 months' attendance to every meeting held in these offices. The time has passed for stalling. Let's get these matters resolved. The Township Attorney and this board have the power to put the lawsuit repayment to a close and transfer all monies taken to date to a special water infrastructure upgrade interest-bearing account. Now is the time to adopt and pass a new ordinance allowing 3 Fairmount residents to sit on the Water Utility Board. The current argument that Lockport Township had an ordinance in place prior to the Illinois Township Code 60 ILCS 1/205-100 being enacted, and whether it supersedes the ordinance written in 1945 could be argued by lawyers. I'm sure we can all agree that enough money has been spent on legal fees by this water utility board. All ordinances can be rewritten, modified, adjusted, and/or amended. Ordinances are not set in stone. They are written to carry out the presiding administrator's wishes at the time it's adopted. We can all agree that an ordinance written in the 1970s might no longer apply nearly 50 years later. You need only look at the plans for downtown Joliet for an example of change directing the need for rethinking of previous planners' ideas for this city. In 1969, a planner thought it was a good idea to place the courthouse parking lot in the middle of the town's famous thoroughfare, Chicago Street. Years later, they realized they crippled their downtown's economy by doing this and are making plans to undo this huge error in judgment. We need this supervisor and board of trustees to put on this same thinking cap and consider how much change is needed as it relates to the current ordinance approved on April 13, 1972, placing the water utility board under the control of the supervisor and trustees. Most of us in this room survived our childhoods riding in cars without seatbelts. We certainly didn't ride in car seats or booster seats. My point is simply this: when you know better, you do better. Let's set this matter in motion to benefit the only community of people directly affected by it and restructure the current water utility board to include at least 3 Fairmont water bill paying residents. Right Here store has been in business for 6 years. Most Fairmont residents frequent this store often for various reasons. We pay our ComEd and HICOR bills here with cash. Allowing water bill payments here should be a no-brainer. Mr. Stevens has state-of-the-art equipment that can deposit payments into the payee's account within 24 to 36 hours. I am not aware of any disturbances ever occurring at Right Here store. This is not a place where customers or non-customers are allowed to loiter or hang out. People simply visit to conduct their shopping and other business needs. Supervisor Alberico, you said you denied Right Here store the bill payment contract due to his charging $1.50 versus Collins Street Currency Exchange charging $1.50. I recently learned the fee being charged at Collins Street is currently $1.50. I did further research to see what fees are charged to pay the City of Joliet, Illinois, American Water, and Home Clean, and learned the following. J.D. Brown was 50 cents 2 years ago, but they no longer accept water bill payments. Booth Currency Exchange in Homer Glen, $1.50. City of Lockport online payment, $1.89. City of Joliet online, $2.50. Louis Joliet, Hillcrest Currency, and Westside Currency Exchange all charge $2.50. I understand from Mr. Stevens that he does not set the fee for this bill payment. It is actually set by First Tech Company. No matter how you slice it, $1.50, should that be the fee charged, is a reasonable and customary fee, and one the consumer can choose to pay or not pay. Where and how we pay our bills should always be a personal choice. The more options, the better for the consumer. Consider the number of ways I can contact someone at the township offices. I can telephone, fax, email, text, or simply stop in. Variety truly is the spice of life. Who wants to pay their ComEd and NICOR bill in one place, then burn gas to go to another location to pay their water bill? Again, this is a no-brainer. Please stop placing limitations on the residents of Fairmont. We all know that we have bigger issues to resolve in Fairmont. This should be the least of them. Supervisor Alberico, I have given you enough reasons to make a decision tonight to allow water bill payments at Right Here store. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? 10, utility management's report.
The only information I have for you tonight is I finished this year's consumer confidence report. I met with the printer today, so that's in the process. So then we'll send them in the mailer, so they'll probably be out by the end of next month.
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you. 13, construction. Anything tonight?
Right, can we ask Larry questions?
Sure, yeah. Question?
Larry, I just got a couple things, I don't know if you can answer or not. Last month's meeting, there was a woman that came in and kind of talked about the quality of water being fairly above the minimum and, you know, toxic and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know, I know our water is tested. I don't know if you can tell me, you know, compared to other locales, if it's fairly above the minimum. And if that is the case, I know there was some kind of talk about possibly ways to improve that. And if there are, you know, if we need to contact the engineer and start looking into stuff like that, or where do we stand on that?
The water is very hard, probably harder than most areas because of the shallow wells.
Okay.
You know, it passes all the EPA requirements, just as the EPA, we run a series of tests. You know, they send bottles, we send them to the EPA labs, and they meet all the EPA standards. Is it the best water? No. What you're talking about, the caustic would have helped, and I can move forward with it. The reason that actually Robinson is putting a proposal together, the EPA, in order to add caustic to it, you have to go have an engineer do a permit. It's going to cost some money. And again, I'm having them research that. I'll bring it back to you. But it will improve the water, but I don't know that the highest standard. Just shallow wells are not the best water. And the age of the pipes, they're cast iron pipes that you've seen pictures of what they look like. And
No, I know that's, like I said, this seems
I
like
mean,
one of the concerns that we're being addressed with month after month.
Right.
About, you know, the quality, and like I said, to have somebody come in and say that it's, you know, nearly toxic and stuff like that, obviously.
yeah, I don't know why that lady said that, but
True. Okay. Well, like I said, if there's information out there as far as improving somehow these shallow wells, if it comes from the engineer or whatever, yeah, if you can get that for us, and I guess it would be up to the board if we want to invest in something like that.
I mean, probably the best improvement would be to put in iron removal system. The city of Lockport, they do have some, and I know they're continuing, but you're talking millions of dollars.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. I did have, I know there is an opinion, and I don't know if it's just an opinion, but you know, when you deliver water to a house, there is some responsibility on the homeowner's side also. As far as like my house, I have a well, I have a water softener, I have a filter system, because I have a shallow well also. You just bring the water out of the earth. We don't make the water, we just take it out of the earth. God made the water. But and the age of the pipes in your house can also contribute to it. The age of the pipes in the ground can contribute to it. But a lot of it is it's hard water because it's what we get out of the earth. It's table water. And if you have deep wells, then you have a radon problem. So either way, if you dig deep wells, I know there's issues with that. I know when I was investigating getting the wells at the old prison, they were deep wells. And they did put $8 million into a project to take the radium out. It's an expensive project, but the state couldn't get around to giving it to us anyway, so that, but yeah, you know, the water's hard, and if you want softer water, you have to invest in a water softener, I guess.
And I will say one thing, if somebody would want me to come to their home and test it, as long as the board is willing to do that, I have no problem going to any residence, and it's sent to an EPA certified lab, and I can tell you if it's safe to drink.
I believe the Will County Health Department also does that. Anybody that wants to bring water to the health has to get tested.
But there's a procedure to do that, so it's just not like you can go and fill a pickle jar with water and send it in. So if they want to contact me, I have no problem coming to your house.
Okay.
Question for you. Larry, back a few years back, they used to mail out analysis on the water. They don't do that anymore, do they?
Yeah, actually, that's what, Johnny, that's what I just talked about, the CCR, it's called the Community, what did I tell you?
I haven't gotten one in a while.
You haven't? Because it's sent to every resident, every building resident. And that's why I said this year, as I finished up last week, and it's actually generated by the Illinois EPA, but it's our responsibility to put it together and mail it. So I'll make sure you get one. I'll hand deliver it.
I could overlook it. Thank you.
You know, Ron, if I could just ask Dean a quick question. Dean, I mean, you talk a lot about the Lockport water. I know you're on the Lockport system. Has there ever been a comparison? Where do we rate in comparison? Because I know Lockport residents don't think the water there is very good either. But are we less than that? Or is our water worse than that? Are we under the same kind of treatment system? Do we soften our water at all publicly?
Neither does Lockport.
Just the chlorine?
No, Lockport does have some iron removal at some of their wells. I don't believe all of them. They used to have deep wells, and they abandoned them because of the radium.
I know they're still trying to figure it out too.
Right, but I understand that they are putting more iron removal systems in.
So then, again, go back to Dean, is that something, if our water's no worse than that, then, I mean, there's really, what else can you do if the water under the ground is not good, is what I'm saying. Is there anything we can do to the water we have access to?
There's a lot of things that, dead-end mains are a problem. And there are some dead-end mains, just
turn black.
There's low usage, so that water sets in that main. That's why as you know, I flush that water main at the community center.
Right.
Because it runs all the way from Princeton to the community center.
Yes.
And it's only got 3 houses plus a community center. So I go out there once a month or something. Mr. Washington used to call me.
Right,
I go out there and I flush that line out to get the chlorine residual, and it does help. So, and that's again, if somebody's water they think is bad, I'll come out. Chris will come out. We'll flush the hydrant, and
Thank you.
we're here to work with the people, not against them.
Larry, can I ask you a question? Is it caustic that you're considering putting in the water? So is the caustic actually caustic?
No, I don't know why it's caustic soda. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know all that much about it. It just, our chemical supply company claims it'll raise the pH. That will also help the chlorine residual in the water. So
I was just wondering, because I know, I still have lead pipes, and probably a lot of residents still have lead pipes, even though the system doesn't have lead pipes. And part of the problem up in Michigan was releasing the lead from the pipes.
you don't have lead pipes.
No.
You may have galvanized pipes, which is a problem inside the house. But there is no lead in, this system was put in the early 70s, 73, 74. The as-built drawings I have are all copper services running from the water mains to the house.
Right.
Now, what's in them, I don't know. I've been in a lot of the homes, and you run anything from black pipe, the galvanized pipe, the plastic pipe, the garden hoses.
Larry, maybe you can tell us, what year did they stop actually selling this lead pipe? I mean, because I think most of the houses there are probably built after the evacuation of lead pipe.
Lead pipe, they didn't have lead services. but they did use lead
No, no, my
solder.
point being is, when did our state make it a law that you couldn't buy it anymore? You
I
couldn't
should
get
know
it.
that, Terry, because I was just told that the other day, but it
I mean,
was
I'm
like
thinking,
83, I
it'd
think.
be my guess, but based on the houses in the neighborhood, I'm thinking they're all built after the lead was abandoned, where they just wouldn't even sell it to you anymore. Likewise,
The lead services were abandoned, but not the lead solder.
what, a lead solder for the copper and
I
everything
think it
else,
was
right?
83,
Right,
around
okay.
that, when the EPA banned lead solder. Even the water meters prior to that had some lead in it.
Right.
These that are put in the houses do not have lead, or low levels of
All
lead.
levels, acceptable levels.
Yeah.
All right, moving on, anything else? Chris?
No, I didn't ask them questions.
I know, it's still part of, in your report. Moving on to 13, constructions report, do you have anything, Chris?
No, if I offended anybody at the last meeting by some of the things I said, I apologize.
All right, thank you.
If I may, I have a couple of questions for 13 construction. Chris, first of all, I want to thank you for typing this out so we can read your report. Makes it a little easier for us. I just did notice, though, that every day in your report that you test the water for Princeton and Bruce. Why is it that you test it every day? I mean, is that something that you do for the maintenance of it, or?
No, that's law.
Okay, so you have to test it every single day?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long does that procedure take?
About an hour and a half,
Okay, because I just noticed on some of the
couple
days.
hours.
Okay, because I just noticed on some of the days that seems to be the only thing that you do.
Sometimes, yes.
Okay.
And that's 7 days a week, and that's.
Right, I did notice that on Saturdays and Sundays, yeah. Okay, thank you.
I have a couple questions too. At this 2132 California, where there were guys tearing down the house, and they tore down the house, and you told them they must cap the well and sewer. Did we send a letter to them?
Yeah, we
Regarding
sent a
that?
letter to them, no, not that I'm aware of. They're supposed to send a letter back to us. But to cap the well,
I don't know if there's a law.
yeah, I
They
don't
did
know.
take the concrete box out of the ground, Greg, if that helps. They pulled the old septic box out. But that property had water and sewer, that was the one I was referring to.
I don't believe it had a well.
I don't think so.
And what the procedure is when now this guy did it on his own, I don't know rightfully or wrongfully, but normally what happens when the county tears a house down, or every time the county hires a contractor, once that is torn down, that contractor has to call now Chris or me, we inspect it to make sure that sewer is plugged. And then it's been, and I say me, utility management sends a letter to the county saying that we inspected it on this date and it was plugged properly.
Okay.
Greg, if I might add, I think on the wells, doesn't Will County Health Department have to inspect the shutdown of a well, regardless of where it's at?
They're supposed to.
I believe that's under their watch.
I think you're correct on that. But I'm not sure who makes sure that the paperwork's done or what the process is. I didn't know if it was part of our responsibilities or not.
Well, that would be my next question too, because it says you don't think that they have a permit. Who's responsible for making sure they have a permit to even tear down this house?
The county.
That'd be Eagle County Land.
Land use.
And I believe this guy, how he tore it down, he just lit it on fire.
They did,
I didn't think you were gonna say that.
Well, but
I
I mean,
really
that's
didn't
the
think you were
truth.
gonna say that.
And I know the John, he's a nice man, he owns a lot of property down there, and he could have got a permit for all I know to burn it down, but I just seen it, the smoke from Bridge Street.
That was shingles and all, guys.
But he stopped building, so I think the county might have put a stop to it.
All right. He did drop off Drake now today, so maybe he.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So the other thing I had a question about, I see that you're changing out some meters, and we did buy some new meters. I see that's part of your scope of work to do. Do you have a plumber installing the meters?
No.
No.
Because I'm pretty sure the the Illinois Plumbing Code says that anybody working on potable water systems has to be a licensed plumber.
I don't believe if you're a municipal employee, you have to have that. City of Lockport, when I worked for the city, and that exempts city employees from doing it.
Okay, I'll have to check. I wasn't sure on that, but that's what I believed it, because I know in other municipalities, they hire plumbers to change out meters.
That must be Naples.
Well, if it's the law, it's the law. We need to protect ourselves.
But I don't believe, I'm almost positive that if you're a municipal worker, that, well, I know the city of Lockport does not.
I'll make sure next meeting I'll answer them for sure. I'm not sure this time. That's all I have.
All right. Anything else? All right, old business. I did want to, you did put these questions to us last month. We dropped off this paper. I did want to address as many as I can. The first one is the resolution of the lawsuit and disposition of monies collected to date. And these, all decisions were made by this board, so I would ask the board to comment too if they have anything to add after I'm done. But the resolution of the lawsuit, the way I read that, is we didn't make a resolution of the lawsuit. The lawsuit was resolved by the courts. We just had to follow the court orders. And the court ordered us to pay, the water district system to pay $625,000. We borrowed it, $525 from the town fund, and it's the opinion of this board to pay it back when that happened. As far as the depositions of the money, every month in our packet we get, and I'll find it here. I'm sure it's in here. Where every penny's gone so far. And that's the deposition of where the money's been collected to date, every month, up until February last month. So that's that question. As far as the water bills being paid at the Fairmont Neighborhood Store, I explained that last month, that the gentleman came to our office and asked to be put on the agenda back 4 or 5 years ago, I think it was 5 years ago. And at that point in time, it was the board's decision not to collect money there. It's not my decision. I don't have that power by myself. We vote as a board. If it's the majority rules, that's democracy. And it was ruled at that time not to do it. Now, last month when it was brought up, I said the gentleman could come to this board again and request to be put on the agenda. We can't vote on anything unless it's on the agenda. So he has to come, present us a letter, asking to have payments brought to his store. We will discuss it. This board will make the decision. That's how we do it. It's a democracy. I don't make those decisions, but we can't do it tonight because he did not approach us. We're not going to beg him to take the bills. If he wants to take the bills, please bring us a letter. We will accept the letter. We will we'll discuss it, put it on the agenda next month. That's how we do it.
Well, I'm here now. Do I still need to write you a letter?
I would like to have it in writing that you would like to put it on the agenda, and we will put it on the agenda.
And when will this take place?
We'll put it on next month's water board meeting.
And you're not going to come up with any more excuses, correct?
I'm sorry?
Please don't come up with any new
I never come up with
There's nothing else.
Excuse me, I'm not going to argue with you, but
I'm not trying to argue.
never come up with any excuses.
Okay.
You came to us 5 years ago, we denied it. Come again, we will consider it. That's how we do things.
Ron, is
All right.
there an amount of time he needs to get it in by, that way we don't miss it? I mean, just a week would be?
That'd be fine.
Okay.
You can do it
A
tomorrow.
week before the board meetings, at least a week.
Well, I guess I would just like to make sure too that is there any specific questions he needs to ask? A certain
Well,
way?
it's up to us. What are we going to charge? You know, I do want to.
No, I mean to get it on the agenda when he
No.
presents you with the letter.
No, just send us a letter and I'll put it on the agenda.
Okay.
What I would do with that letter also is to detail as much as you can how this procedure would take place, the fees charged, and if you'll collect cash, check, credit cards, anything, what type of charges would be for each type of payment. So that we're clear on making a decision, so that we can make a decision that night, so we have all the information that we can have. Try to make it as inclusive, every possible scenario you can think of, try and put it on there, because you're not sure what questions, and maybe even, I don't know if we can put it out to the people on the board, and we can see if we have questions regarding that, so that you're prepared in that meeting. If there are questions, we can have the questions for you before the meeting, so you can answer and have the answers.
I deal with comment tonight, this is not rocket science.
I understand, but
It's quite something.
familiar with this system, so anything that you could provide would be helpful.
The other comment I want to make, well, it's my turn to talk here, is you talked about what the charges have been. The charges have always been 50 cents added onto the water bill up until just recently. Chris, if I want to refresh my memory, when did we get the letter from Currency?
We were told that as of January 1st, they were raising it to
January 1st? Okay, so up until then, it was just 50 cents for all residents. And the variety of life is, you can pay it there, you can mail it, we have a drop box, or you can come up to the office.
Or we'd like to pay it down the street from the house.
Until they come to us and ask us, we can't do that. It's just a procedure. We'll go through the procedure. And if this board feels comfortable with it, we'll start with that.
Can he publicly ask now and send a letter?
What's that?
Can he publicly ask
I would love
out
to have
and
it
then
in writing.
send a letter?
It's just that thing of having it in writing. So we can't have any questions of saying, well, he asked, he said it this way, he said it that way. I want to. It's too many fingers changing, accusing of everything.
Will that stop the currency exchange from doing it, or will they still do it?
I think they could still do it too. It'll make more trips on me to go pick up the water bills, but, it's what I do, I guess.
Wouldn't it make more sense to just keep it in the neighborhood?
Question answer thing. This is just, I just wanted to comment on this. If right here, store wants to start collecting the water bills, he needs to come in writing, ask it to be put on the agenda, and we will consider it. I can't predict how this board will vote. It's up to this board, though. I don't make the decisions myself.
In regards to the letter that you
What?
want, in regards to the letter that you want the store to send in or submit, what is specifically are you asking for them to submit in this letter?
Greg just mentioned it.
Ask us
I missed it,
to,
so-
Oh, you just came in? Okay.
Yes.
This, anything that regards the type, maybe the contract that you have with the company you use, the name of the company, what they're charging. I don't know what questions the other board members would have, but I would, what type of, what other type of utilities they work with, they collect. So it gives us a feeling of comfortableness that we're gonna, they're gonna be paying the money into that company, that we feel comfortable that they're gonna transfer that money into the Lockport funds.
Okay, one last question and I'm done. Is that the exact same type of thing that the currency exchange submitted?
I'm not sure. I wasn't here when the currency exchange was approved, but I think that this would be customary for any type of organization asking to do this. I'm not sure.
all right. Moving on to the appointment of the Fairmont residents to the Water Utility Board. At this point in time, under ordinance by court or by state statute, this is the water board. This is the utility water board. To be appointed to this board, it's an elected position. We were elected. We worked hard to get elected to be on this board, and it's nothing. We can't just appoint a new board without a new ordinance. Now, we've talked about putting an ordinance together. We've had discussions. And obviously, I don't want to, I can't say what was discussed in executive session. But at this point in time, we're not moving forward.
My question is there a limited number of members that we can appoint to the utility board?
To the utility board?
Well, I'm sorry, to the water board, water utility board.
To this board?
Yes. Is there?
We're the utility board. We got elected through the courts, through the election.
Right, but I mean to appoint any additional people? Is there?
I don't believe there's any state statute that says that.
I wouldn't think that we'd be able to appoint other voting members to this board.
So I have a hard time hearing the echo.
I don't think we would be, it would be appropriate to appoint voting members to this board.
But they wouldn't be voting members, they would just be advisory.
But we've had these discussions, and you know, we're not at liberty to discuss that right now.
Ron, I would just ask our attorney, since he's here, how do we get in discussion with that? I know we were in some type of executive session where this was brought up. I think kind of one of the questions that the whole board has here, because we talked about this committee being more or less an advisory committee. And the question is, you know, if the three people who are interested in that position are here at the meeting, they can address us at a point in the meeting anyway. But if the point is that they want to feel comfortable to have like an appointed board of 3 members sitting up here or sitting on the side to where they can interact with us, they still can't vote, but they have a voice. I mean, is there a way that can be discussed or be brought about?
Law states it's supposed to be 5 members.
Well, I think we're talking about 2 different things. So I think what Dean is talking about is not a board that's appointed under the Township Code, under the statute that we talked about, but a committee that's appointed by or designated by the Township to address issues and report back to the board with concerns, questions, receive information, disseminate information, and kind of be a liaison between the board and the community on certain topics. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
Okay. So Greg is correct that in a situation like that, you don't have the authority under the election code or under the Constitution of the state of Illinois to delegate any voting authority. So there's no voting authority, that's for sure. Generally speaking, in situations like that, where you'll have, I'll give you an example, lots of municipalities have economic development committees. And usually economic development committees are comprised of citizens within the municipality that have some expertise in economic development, whether they're bankers or real estate or business or tradespeople, whatever. And the board creates a committee, economic development, and then as things come up within the community, whether it's a municipality or otherwise, they refer them to the economic development committee, who then interviews the people, looks at the projects, looks at the ordinances of the municipality, and makes recommendations to the board relative to incentive agreements or things like that. That's just one type of an example. So this board would be similarly powered to create a committee if you wanted to that would not be organized under the Township Code that we talked about, but a committee nevertheless to serve as a liaison. They wouldn't sit with you at the table because they wouldn't have any voting authority, they wouldn't have any power to comment at the meetings, but they would be able to liaison with you relative to community concerns, information, for points of distribution of information, rather than having, what I would consider to be maybe a shotgun approach to sharing information or concerns or things like that. You would be able to work through that committee for the purpose of centralizing that information and disseminating that information. So that's the kind of committee that you could appoint, and you can decide how large or small you want that committee to be. Because it's not a voting committee, because it doesn't have any jurisdictional authority, it's really at your discretion. You could do it for instance, on this water issue. You could do it on any other issue that you wanted to, if you wanted to receive, specific information from the community, and you wanted to work through a group to do that. And you'd have to have volunteers and so forth. But it's provided for in the Township Code, and it's the same for the county's code, the municipal code. It's the same.
Did you even read the ordinance from the state from '94? Because none of what you explained is even close to what the ordinance states.
Mr. Rogers, I
There's something
apologize, but you
that-
didn't listen to my first comment. My first comment
Why
was,
don't we just follow the law, though, is what I'm saying? Why do we want to keep being
Excuse
creative?
me,
Remember
I-
Ron Coleman last month said, well, we could get creative with the grant money. Doesn't that mean we're changing what it's supposed to be spent for to something else? Why do we want to be creative instead of being transparent? The state, the 94 was stated, appoint the 5 people, it's all in writing. We don't have to sit here and keep going. Why make it so hard? In May, I read it off to you. Last May, I read it off to you. The ordinance hasn't changed.
Please, he
Don't
has
make it
the
so
floor.
hard.
Right? Please, Terry, he has the floor.
so Dean, in terms of the committee that you're talking about, which is very different than what Mr. Rogers referenced, you're authorized under the statute to do it.
Please, Terry.
And so you are following the law when you do that. That's a different law that he's talking about. It shouldn't
That's the
surprise
law.
anybody. Excuse me, Mr. Rogers, I appreciate that you keep interrupting me, but you can't listen to what I'm saying when you're talking. So there are more than one law that applies to how you form committees and how you do things. The Township Code has one process. The Township Code also has a process for you to create additional communities, so you have multiple different venues to do that.
I mean, that means a lot because, like I said, obviously these people are here every month with the same concern about this committee. And, like you said, there's different laws for different formations. And if there are 3 people, I don't know if they're here tonight, that have submitted a name, that are, if they sit in the front row to be a committee to voice whatever is an issue for the residents up there in the Fairmont community to consider and address us without any issues.
Correct. And that would be at the discretion
Of the board, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Doesn't the supervisor have that responsibility of appointing?
You do.
According to the law.
According to the law.
Carl, can I ask you
Sure.
about the lawsuit resolution while you're up there?
Sure.
Okay. I know there's been quite a bit of discussion and throughout the board and throughout the residents about if there are any repercussions or problems if this board, and maybe this board, because we thought and was told at one time, since the township board lent the water the money to pay off the lawsuit, that the township would be the one to make the decision to relieve the debt or relieve the loan or whatever you want to call it. However, at one of the township meetings, the attorney for the township kind of made it sound like it might be up to either this board or, there's a line item created in the budget to delete that line item or something. And it's still kind of a gray area. I mean, I think the residents, and I hope they appreciate that, we are trying to come to some resolution of this, whether it's to relieve it, if that's possible. As of right now, we're just setting that money aside until some kind of resolution can come. And, but I've also heard that there might be some repercussions, like from the residents who don't get the water, like the non-Fairmont residents who pay the tax money, who ended up paying off this lawsuit, could maybe come back, and say, wait a second, I had nothing to do with that water system, and you're using my tax dollars now to pay off a lawsuit. I don't know. I mean, is that put us in some kind of trouble spot where, or what, I guess basically, what is your take on this lawsuit? If who would make the decision to relieve that debt if it comes to that?
That would be the township, because that's your budget.
The township has to make that decision.
Correct.
Township board.
Yeah, depending on how you fund it or how you categorize it in your budget, whether it's a separate fund or whether it's part of a county fund, that would be at your discretion. And there's no recourse because whether they're a service member of the water system or a non-service member of the water system, if they're in the township, they fall under the governance of the township, so there's no distinguishing, there's no difference. And there's no individual taxpayer has a right to have a bill paid or not have a bill paid, whether they receive the service or don't receive the service, if it's a call for and paid for by, and provided for by the township, whether they receive the service or not.
So in your opinion then, you said that you don't think that there would be any recourse?
There wouldn't be.
There wouldn't be. Okay.
All right.
Any other questions?
The last question on here is please explain how you would establish a water district in Fairmont and what it would look like. I hesitate to go into that because in the minutes we just passed, Ms. Herod says emphatically that that you guys are not interested in creating your own water district. I don't know why you would ask me the question and give me this question right after you've emphatically said you don't want it. I can explain it to you. We would not put the water district together. You would put the Fairmont question together. We don't put the referendum on. It'd be up to the Fairmont community to organize, get a referendum question put together, get petitions signed, and organize and put it through the county clerk's office to put the referendum on the ballot. I could advise you or ask, help you if that was your interest. I could, just as a layman tell you this is how the procedure, but I hesitate to do that because I did it with the garbage and it backfired and I was called all kinds of names at the annual town meeting for trying to go out of my way and help. But that's how that would work. If the people want in Fairmont, that it's the people that put the referendum together. We don't do it. That's your decision. All I did was tell you there's an opportunity for you guys to create your own water district. You would have your own board. You could decide what happens with the water district. Cut us out. You guys are just as capable of making these decisions as we are. That's my only thought. That being said, I have nothing else on that. Okay, now I lost my agenda. Here it is. Okay, under new business, the ordinance adopting the surcharge for all accounts. Everybody should have in their packet the ordinance. I did receive this ordinance just recently, so I really haven't gone through it real good. Is there any questions you want to ask about the ordinance first before we get too far into this?
Yeah, I had a couple questions. I guess I would direct towards the attorney. In the third paragraph, I was just wondering if some of the verbiage could be changed on this because the way it's reading, I'm just going to read it verbatim. Whereas Lockport Township board members believe it is in the best interest of the residents of Lockport Township to establish such water system rates as are needed to provide for the operation of the Lockport Township water system, and in so doing, increase the surcharge to users of the system. Okay, a couple of the words I was wondering about. First of all, since we specifically want the surcharge of $7.50 to be strictly for repairing the system, basically for the infrastructure, should the word operation not be in there? Because the operation is the day-to-day function of the system. We want this money specifically used for repairs, not operation.
You have the right to do that. That's the language from the statute for the authorization that you have to set the rates and surcharges and things like that. So I track the language right out of the statute. That would be done in your budget process. So if you say you want to earmark the $7.50 surcharge for repairs, you have the right to do that. I just took, and I could change it in.
I mean, it's the wording, and then the other thing too says the residents of Lockport Township. It's really not the entire Lockport Township. It's really just the Fairmont community that this is affecting. So should the word Lockport Township be in there? Shouldn't it be Fairmont community?
Well, it's all part of Lockport Township, and that's your jurisdiction. So again, legally, that's probably a distinction without a difference for the purposes of clarification. It doesn't change it legally, so sure, you can do that.
Okay. Those are the only questions I had, and if anybody else has a chance to look at it.
Anybody else on the board have any questions?
Yeah, the wording in section 1 it's kind of on the same line as Barb's the water system usage rate shall be increased by a maintenance surcharge, and we would prefer that to be the infrastructure surcharge. I think, is that, were you guys on the same page with that?
Yeah, I agree with it.
And it's just the wording, so we get this right the first time.
So I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure if I followed exactly what you're saying. Take out,
Instead of a maintenance surcharge,
take out the maintenance part.
and change it to infrastructure surcharge.
Not going to change anything. Everything is going to go for the for the piping and for the
Correct.
improvements. And that's the intention of this board.
Maybe we could put infrastructure improvements.
Yeah.
Maybe better
Change that,
word.
I guess. Ordinance number on the top. We decide that, we put that on there, and it'd be the 2018-1.
No, we do it differently. It would end up being the next
Oh, okay.
numeric
And
number.
you'll put that number on there? Okay. What I would like to do then, just, I mean, unless you really want to get it passed tonight, is everybody good with the Section 3 ordinance? So the enforced effective August 1st, I put in there.
That's
I
fine.
have a question on that, if you guys allow me to approach it.
Yeah, it's really not in procedures to have more comment. I'll let you have a couple of minutes is all, it's not real, don't get into an hour discussion. All right?
I don't think I ever got an hour, Ron.
There you go.
You don't allow it. But anyway, the surcharge, this is my first time hearing it out. And you say you're gonna adopt that on your own right now, and this is gonna be for repairs, right? Only for Fairmont area. So this is like, you say $7 or something, added on per month. And this is gonna be permanent.
Be permanent until the repayment of the loan.
Oh, this is gonna go until the repayment of the loan that either way, Fairmont is gonna be stupid paying for this loan. So either way, we're gonna, Fairmont peoples are gonna be stupid paying for this loan.
Still be paying, yeah.
So
We
that's
borrow money from the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency to improve the system, and we have to pay that loan back. So that $750 will be paying that.
But it's got nothing to do with the maintenance of the.
No, not the maintenance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. Please state your name for the record for the.
Johnny Seals, 405 Knowles Avenue, Lockport.
Thank you. All right. I don't know if we want to go ahead and adopt this with all the questions or without the changes, so maybe we should table it, or do we want to?
I'll make a motion, we table it until next month, and then we get the rewritten.
Rewritten. That's what I would think too, unless you guys.
I'll second it, 'cause I mean, as long as it's not effective until August 1st, we have time.
We have time to do it anyway, yeah. So, okay, I would take a motion to table this until next month.
I think Greg motioned that, I'll second it.
What's that?
He
Oh,
made
you
the
already
motion.
made that, I'm sorry. You're on my good here, yeah. I have a motion by Greg, and you did second it? And second by Barb. Can I have a roll call, please?
Barb Boyce?
Yes.
Barbara Delaney?
Yes.
Dean Morelli?
Yes.
Ron Alberico?
Yes.
Greg Bickett?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda. Payment to the town fund for the Aqua lawsuit. I do have the letter in here suggesting that we could afford it again, the $5,000. I would entertain a motion to put it into the savings for, as we discussed the last two meetings.
I'll second. Hold on, I'm making the motion.
You'll make the motion, Barb
I'll second
Delaney? Barb Boyce makes a second. Any questions? Hearing none, could I have a roll call, please?
Dean Morelli?
Yes.
Ron Alberico?
Yes.
Craig Bickes?
Yes.
Barb Boyce?
Yes.
Barb Delaney?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. I don't have anything else on here. I did want to bring up the fact that there are 2 bids that were brought in here in your packet. One from Len Cox proposal and one from J.S. Alberico Construction. Not a relative. Did we have a third bid? We talked about getting
We had a third bid a year ago, and he was way out of line.
Way out of line?
Yeah.
Okay. These are the current bids to do what this is about is, there's a section off of the one by the park there, Princeton, that keeps, where most of our water main breaks are. And we've talked about maybe just trying to repair that section of pipe now, because we know that's keeps on breaking right there. So these bids are a little higher than what, and it's up to us, do we want to continue looking into trying to do that now, or they're pretty high, 43.5 and 30,900, so it'd be 31,000.
I would like to see more bids to be there.
I'd like to see, yeah, they're kind of high. We'll have to, I hate to ask you, Chris, can you look up a couple more guys and see?
Sure, absolutely.
See a couple more bids in here, get, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 more if we can.
Couple.
Yeah, a couple anyway. See where we're going to go. It's not on the agenda, so we couldn't vote on it anyway. I just wanted to bring it to your attention that we're still considering, I think we should still consider if we can afford it out of the money we have already in system improvements.
Ron, I think this was discussed before, wasn't it, Larry?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about, and I think you were the one that told us how the pipe comes out of that pump house, kind of in a off direction, and it would be more feasible to run it a different way. Is that the case?
That's what I don't know why they did it, what they did, because they come out of the well house and turn a 90 to the north, then a 90 to the east, then another 90 to the north. Okay. And I don't understand when they built it back in the day, why they just come straight out of the well house, do 190 to the north.
Okay. Because I know, I've been here for about 3 years, and I remember hearing. What do you think we've had as far as breaks?
At least 5.
Okay. So, your opinion?
It needs to be replaced. I've seen the pipe and, but, yeah, there's a couple other contractors you can get.
Okay. But it's something that we should do as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think
if we did it, would we be able to send it in a direction without the elbows? So this problem doesn't happen again, where we come straight out, make one elbow and hit the main?
Yeah, that's what I would recommend. When I met with CMG and Lynn Cox, actually, I told them just to come straight out and do 190 to the north and hook it back up to the valve at Princeton. And by doing this too, just so you know, there's no customers on that line.
Okay.
No service customers. So you'd shut a valve off at Princeton, and during this construction, we'd have to turn Princeton well off, but there would be no customer affected without water or anything.
So it just wouldn't run off the one well, Bruce Road well?
Correct.
For the duration.
Yeah, which is not a big problem.
Yeah. My only thought is not a plumber or construction. My thought is the only reason we wouldn't be able to go straight with one elbow would be if we start digging and find we got to blast limestone. There's a lot of limestone in this area. Maybe that's why they there's no way to tell.
I don't know if it was back in the day when, because this park, I don't know who owns that property. It's part of the park.
Yeah.
So I don't know, back in the 70s, the township and the park worked together, and the park just said, yeah, go ahead and build it, or if there was some legal plotting of the well, I really don't know that.
Why don't we do this then? We'll get a few more bids and see what we can go with it, and maybe if we can get some bids that we're comfortable with, we'll put it on the agenda and go ahead and try to do it. If not, then we'll include it with main project that we're gonna do when the improvements come. All right? I have nothing else. All right.
I know you hate to be interrupted, that's why I didn't say anything to the end.
All right.
You just approved that 5,000 aqua to be moved over into the whatever. That's what I'm asking you to clarify. Where are you putting it? Is it going to the future infrastructure upgrade? You keep saying.
It's in a savings account by itself. That's all that money is sitting in a savings account right now. That since we made the decision, and where that money's gonna go will be a further future decision of this board. We haven't decided yet. We're trying to figure out what direction we're gonna go with all this, yeah.
That's what I was.
Yeah, but it's being held on the water side in a private, its own savings account.
But it can't be designated for future infrastructure upgrades.
No, it may be when this board makes the decision. It may be, probably will be, I don't know, but right now we felt comfortable not sending it to the town. We're gonna hold it in the city, or in the water side, and make a decision.
Because prior to the 4 or 5 that we're aware of, I believe there was another like $150,000 that happened before we started coming to the meetings.
I'm sorry?
Before we ever started coming here to meetings in October, I believe there's a total of about $150,000 that have been taken from our water revenue to repay this lawsuit. So I'm asking, are you ultimately going to put it all into one big fund for infrastructure upgrades?
It's $55,000. It's in this report, like I said. It's right here.
We never see that, Ron.
Well, I can't mail it to everybody. It's FOIA-able. You're welcome to it. That's not, we're hiding it.
Have it available here when we come.
Yeah, we don't have that.
I'm sorry, I'm not gonna get into discussion.
That's not a discussion, it was a statement.
The water, the money is all documented as to where it is. You're welcome to the documentation. Please come to the office. I don't have enough for everybody. But I will print you one off tomorrow if you come to the office.
Any chance I can have that one?
I'm sorry?
Any chance I can have that one?
This is mine. I'm sorry. I will get you one.
Say, I can take a picture of it if you're okay with that.
Take a picture of it, sure. I have nothing else. Is there anything else?
I have a comment or suggestion for a later date, just to bring up, since everybody seems to be asking about the money that we're putting aside in this account to use at a later date for whatever this board decides. A project like this, after Chris gets his other 2 bids, we may consider using that money that's sitting there, since this is considered an infrastructure repair, to use those monies for that, instead of going out and adding that to our IEPA loan to get interest on it. So that's something we can discuss later, but that's an option too.
Sure. All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I got a motion by Barb Delaney. Second by Barb Boyce. All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much.